Teisha Bader with Shalom TV's news update for Thursday, July the 24th, 2014. Israel's Operation Protective Edge entered its 17th day today, continuing to exchange fire with terrorists in Gaza and continuing to destroy rocket launchers and terror tunnels. Late yesterday, 3 more IDF soldiers were killed. The 3 who were paratroopers brought the total number of IDF casualties thus far to 32. Rocket alert sirens were heard once again in southern and central Israel today. 3 rockets were intercepted by the Iron Dome missile defense system over Petah Tikva and Bat Yam, and later 2 rockets were intercepted over Tel Aviv. The IDF said today that it was also checking out the validity of Palestinian reports that claimed the IDF shelled a school in the Beit Hanun area run by UNRWA, the UN's Relief and Works Agency, causing civilian casualties. The AP reports the IDF said later they were still looking into the matter and that rockets launched by Hamas had landed in that area during fighting and that those rockets may be responsible for the deaths. Yesterday, UNRWA admitted that rockets have been found on more than one occasion in their schools in Gaza. The rockets were reportedly returned to local authorities in Gaza, which could mean that they went back to Hamas. The Egyptian army said they prevented an attack against Israel last night. According to Palestinian news agency MAN, Egyptian army sources told them they shot and killed a suicide bomber who ran towards the border near Kerem Shalom. They also claim they destroyed a vehicle loaded with rockets intended to be fired on Israel in the Sinai near the Gaza border. The Federal Aviation Authority lifted its ban this morning of flights to and from Israel. The FAA had initially extended the original 24-hour ban last night and then lifted it this morning, allowing American airline companies to once again fly in and out of Ben Gurion Airport. Israeli leaders and Jewish organizations here in the U.S. are expressing their outrage at a decision by the United Nations Human Rights Council, which voted to establish a commission of inquiry into Israel's actions in Gaza, alleging that Israel has committed human rights violations there. The vote follows statements made yesterday by UN High Commissioner Navi Pillay, who told the UNHRC there seems to be a strong possibility that international humanitarian law has been violated in a manner that could amount to war crimes. The United States was the only one of 47 member states to oppose the Commission of Inquiry. 29 countries approved it, including Algeria, China, Cuba, Indonesia, Kuwait, Pakistan, Russia, and Saudi Arabia. 17 countries abstained. They include Great Britain, Germany, and France, who have been supportive of Israel in the crisis. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called the UNHRC vote a travesty of justice, common sense, and truth. The Anti-Defamation League called the commission another shocking perversion of the UNHRC's mandate. ADL National Director Abe Foxman said with all of the evidence of the millions of Israelis hunkering down in bomb shelters under threat of Hamas rockets, of Hamas blatantly firing and storing rockets, missiles, and other weaponry from and in schools, mosques, apartment buildings, and ambulances, the Human Rights Council has again chosen to focus on alleged Israeli crimes. At the UNHRC meeting itself, B'nai B'rith International delivered a public intervention. President Alan Jacobs said this is the 7th time a special session has been called to discuss Israel, more than any other nation. He said it's time for this to stop. The American Jewish Committee's executive director David Harris said the vote yesterday was the perfect illustration of what's wrong with the UN's preeminent human rights watchdog. Harris said because of the automatic majority at the UNHRC, Israel can't get a fair hearing and is held responsible for a conflict solely triggered by Hamas. And Jewish organizations praised the call from U.S. Deputy National Security Advisor Anthony Blinken for the demilitarization of Gaza as part of any ceasefire agreement with Israel. The Jewish Council for Public Affairs President Rabbi Steve Gutto said the latest conflict between Hamas and Israel should be proof to the world that Hamas places a higher priority on killing and terrorizing Israelis than it does on improving the lives of Gazans. He said a demilitarized Gaza could allow for economic development and hope there and be, quote, a springboard for a Palestinian state and not a demonstration of the worst about it. Leaders of the Conference of Presidents of major American Jewish organizations, Robert Sugarman and Malcolm Hoenlein, also lauded Blinken's remarks and said, by removing missiles and weapons from Gaza, a long-term constructive peace becomes possible and paves the way for meaningful negotiations. And the Conference of Presidents is convening a National Leadership Assembly for Israel in Washington, D.C. this Monday to show solidarity for the country. Leaders of Congress and the U.S. administration have been invited to attend, joining hundreds of leaders of Jewish organizations and others. Sugarman and Hohenlein said it was an important opportunity to let the people of Israel know that they are not alone. Israel's 10th president, Reuven Rivlin, was sworn in at the Knesset today. Rivlin takes over from Shimon Peres, who gave his final speech as president tonight in Jerusalem. The ceremony was said to be a low-key one in light of the security situation in Israel. Knesset Speaker Yuli Edelstein and Rivlin said in a joint statement earlier today, "Our message is that the central event in Israel is Operation Protective Edge, and it should be clear in the Knesset as well." And turning now to our Shalom TV programming for tonight, Thursday, July the 24th, our coverage of Israel in turmoil, Operation Protective Edge, continues tonight with a special live show beginning at 9 o'clock with Mark Golub and guests here on Shalom TV and ShalomTV.com. And that's Shalom TV's news update for Thursday, July the 24th, 2014. I'm Teisha Bader.